That's so cool. Okay. So, thank you y'all for joining me. Just kind of a off issue brainstorming session regarding supply chains, regarding things that we might need to start thinking about, maybe underground medical care, maybe how to get items, whether it be medicine, food, money, supplies, whatever, from point A to point B, and what that looks like. I've been racking my brain at what that looks like, what a supply chain looks like, taking into account security and just trying to keep all parties safe as well as moving. And that's kind of like a delicate line to walk. So I was hoping maybe if I could get some ideas out of my head and let other people like share the ideas that are bouncing around in their head, maybe we can like cut a path somewhere. I don't really know where yet, and I don't really know what it looks like at the moment, but I know this is something that I've done extensively over in the Middle East. I have run extensive amounts of supplies to and from Syria and Palestine for many, many years. And that includes things that are incredibly dangerous to do, whether that be ammunition, whether that be medicine or drugs or cannabis, which is all like super no to go not only to a Muslim controlled country, but also during the Muslim ban. So, they stopped delivering resources. They stopped delivering food. They're basically trying to starve out Syria. And so I was running extensive supplies for a number of years through a network of people all over the world, not using the postal system, not using the traditional methods. A, because I couldn't, because they were locked down. B, because like when things are in the middle of a war, there are clear defined good guys and bad guys. Whether or not that's true, you get labeled as a bad guy real fast. So you really kind of have to keep your head down. And we probably, I don't know, we probably sent maybe $500,000 to $750,000 worth of ammunition and medicine and food to Syria and Palestine over the last. I did it for 6 years, but it got serious for 3. So I know that Silas has, he kind of wants to do the same thing here in the States. He wants to provide like a anarchist network of underground people that will receive, that will ship, that will exchange to connect not only freedom cells, but also to connect people. So if people need to move, if people are in emergency situations and they need to leave and they don't have the resources to do so, Silas really kind of wants to help relocating people as well as supply chains. And I think that's a need that's becoming more and more urgent and maybe more and more clear as kind of the really unknown kind of settles in with the current administration, with there's so much change going on that I think it's really hard to kind of prepare. And I think if we can kind of at least set the groundwork to maybe hope to prepare, or maybe set the groundwork to grow to prepare, maybe it will reduce a lot of anxiety levels for a lot of people, as well as strengthen communities even more so, which is exactly what we want. The stronger the community, the less government is needed. And that's our goal, right? Is to become less governable and more autonomous. And so anyway, so my name is Dharma, for y'all that don't know. I'm a co-editor for RtA magazine. Silas couldn't be here tonight. He has spotty cell phone Wi-Fi reception in central Illinois. But he's with us in spirit, and he plans on watching the recording at a later date. I've also got another person that joins us in spirit. Her name is Lindsay. She is part of the Denver hub. Part of my idea for kind of connecting freedom cells is maybe finding one or two people in each state that are willing to maybe transport partway to another freedom cell where they could receive it and transport it possibly to another freedom cell. I don't know. Like I said, I've got all these ideas. I know that I drive from Denver about once a month, and I drive to Utah about twice a month. And so I'd be able to kind of assist maybe the outer western ring of that. I've got a Denver hub that would be able to receive things in Denver from beyond. And then, I don't know, maybe link up to other freedom cells and hopefully create a large scale. This is going to sound retarded, but bear with me. It's going to be a large scale freedom cell, right? So, like, it's going to be decentralized, hopefully, because we'll each be independently receiving and sending packages. But there'll be like stations or hubs. Think of the Underground Railroad. Station masters to be able to receive packages and or people, to be able to relay just enough information that's necessary. We really don't need to dox people. We don't need to dox their packages, but just, if I don't know, but well, we've got some stuff kind of fitting into place, and so now I'm kind of hoping to open it up into underground medical care. And I know that the forced vaccinations are becoming a real thing. And I think that it's definitely something to be mindful of, especially that really, really excellent medical care individuals are losing their jobs, as well as good people are losing access to healthcare, given the ultimatum of healthcare or vaccine. And I think it's just good to kind of maybe diversify. I think essential oils are great, but when you snap your leg in 6 different places, it's really excellent to have a doctor to go to and not have to worry about them like sneaking crazy things into your body other than screws. So, so, so who joined us today is Joe. He is in Michigan, which I know that's a little bit out of our area, but he's a project manager who has a lot of IT kind of project coordination skills. And I'm speaking for you, Joe. I'm sorry, but so I asked him to join just for his expertise on maybe starting a project. So Joe, maybe if you
Well,
want to say hi, I'll stop.
well, hello, everybody. I will make one minor correction, though. I am a product manager, not a project manager. There's a pretty good difference, but still, I've been in various IT roles as either product owner or product manager since 2012. I currently work at Rocket Mortgage as a product owner, and I've been working with IT teams for a long time to help develop requirements, break them down, and kind of plan everything out. I actively plan sprints with an agile development team all the time right now. It's kind of my thing. I'm also one of the founders and organizers for the Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest, where Dharma came with her horrible mangled leg. but but yeah, glad to be here. I don't know what else I have to say.
No, that's perfect. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
So before we like get started totally, I kind of also want to invite you into my head a little bit, because like I'm not going to force you to get a tetanus shot to go all the way in my head, but if I could just get you like a little bit kind of where my head is going, so that you guys can pick it apart and maybe rebuild it better. So I'm going to share my screen with you all. Joe, I don't know. Can you see okay? You just can't record or be seen, right?
I'm on my mobile just, but only for a couple minutes. As soon as I walk in my house, I'll be on my PC and I'll be able to see everything. You'll be able to see me, and all will be well.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Do that. Go here. Yeah. Okay. Can y'all see my screen over here? You see the magazine? Okay, great. So, in my magazine every single month, I have a map. Probably a lot of you might be on it. Maybe some of you are not on it. But if we click it open here, think of the freedom cells, right? And I want to say that this map came out before the freedom cells. So I just have to get my recognition in there now. But so I started this map almost 2 years ago now. And there are so many people that are on it. It's fantastic, like globally, even like it's amazing. Like I've got like, are you shitting me? I've got someone in Africa that reads my magazine. I think that's amazing. So so in my mind, like a year ago when I started thinking about this, I was thinking about this in preparation for now, because when COVID dropped about 2 years ago, I started thinking, oh boy, this is going to be big. Oh boy, this is going to affect a lot of aspects of our lives. Oh boy, this is going to be something that we really should pay attention to. Oh boy, right? And so I started thinking, I started attacking it from every part. What can I attack it with? Let's start linking people up right now. So I'm over here, right? So there's a few of us in Junction. So here's what I've got here set up. I kind of wanted a place where you could have drop zones and not have to say, here's my home address. Like here's where I live. 123 Main Street, apartment 9. Like come on in. Like I wasn't comfortable with that, right? So how do you link people up without doxing yourself to a degree, right? Like how are you supposed to link up with other people? How are you supposed to get help from other people if you don't really trust anybody, you don't really know anybody, so that gets complicated. So if you click on this link on this red, and they're all kind of color coded, like blue are people, black are businesses, and red are like this. Red are states resources. In my mind, the red market, right? The red market, the white market, they're basically interchangeable now because the government's basically the curator of both. So, what I thought about was this traffic intersection camera. It's not terribly far from my house. So, I'm still very anonymous. You still have no idea where I'm at. Like, you might know what city I'm in, but big fucking deal, right? You still don't know where I live. But perhaps if someone did need help, and they wandered to Unaweep and 29 Road, which is found on my map, they could leave me a signal, right? They could draw like a star in a cement. I didn't really develop it farther than the intersection, but the point is we can use the state's resources to keep an eye on an area without having to expose ourselves any more necessarily than we already are, and have people that might need help. Maybe there's an agreed upon star or an A, or I don't know, whatever, or RtA, I don't know. But something that alerts me that someone needs help at this intersection, whether it's items to be transported, whether it's a person that needs to be transported. So maybe there's two pickup times. Maybe we say that there's like a pickup time at 5 p.m. on this and such day, and 5 p.m. on some other such and such day. And so I pop down there on that time because I know, because I've been alerted with like a chalk outline or whatever. And I pick up whoever, no questions asked. And I take them either to Utah, or I take them either to Denver, or I take their items to either west or east. at which case that hub individual will decide how and when to continue moving the product or the person and or getting the person other help. Maybe their destination is Denver, but they need a job now, or they need, I don't know, whatever. I mean, the possibilities are really endless depending on our resource level and participation. But that was kind of my idea. So if you take a very public map, because it's Google Map, right? Like anybody can get on here, and you look for red dots, right? And maybe there's a red dot peppered here in Price, and maybe there's a red dot peppered over here in Denver, Aurora. And someone, whether it be a station house or a conductor or whoever, can kind of keep an eye on a traffic camera that's not too close from their house, but also close enough that it, excuse me, wouldn't be a deal breaker to have to go out there to help somebody. And maybe that could be the way we decentralize it, hide it in plain sight, right? Like you use the state's existing resources, you don't reinvent the wheel, yet you use a combination of tactics to keep your communication safe. You not only use a very public traffic camera and very public map, but you also combine that with dead drops, and you combine that with maybe hidden messages either in the magazine or an agreed upon book or coding, man. so so that's kind of my quick and dirty. Now, when I first presented this a year and a half ago, full disclosure, everybody hated it. Everybody hated it because there was no security, because it was right out there in the public, in the open, because there was no, like, if the person really did need help and they're standing in that intersection, like, where are they going to stand out there for 3 days waiting? You know, like, there were a lot of holes poked, and they were very valid holes, right? Like, I'm not even saying that it was just a bunch of bullshit. Like, they were valid points that people hated about this plan. But I'm stubborn as shit, and I'm not going to give up this plan because I know somehow, some way, there is a way to make this work. I just don't know what it is yet. But generally an idea, I'm like a cocker spaniel, right? Like I have a really good idea, and like 30 seconds it's gone. And if they're not gone, there's usually a reason they're not gone. And this one isn't gone. And I just feel like it needs a lot of work, but I feel like there's potential here. And after looking at the Freedom Cell network, and they're doing something very similar too with the Operation Underground Railroad, where they're actively transporting people to and from Mexico, probably mostly too. And that's amazing. And they have a very public map also, and they have a very public internet IP domain where they're taking people through Mexico with a very public online questionnaire. So I ask you, if this idea is so horrible, why is the Freedom Cell Network also doing a variation of it? And how can we make this idea better? I'm done. The floor is open.
Oh, there we go. Hi.
You can see me.
That's a great idea.
I definitely see the concerns with the security. I mean, in and of itself, if no attention is drawn to it, I don't see any problems with it. If word gets out that these are the tools that you're using, you are creating a lot of data points potentially, depending on what precautions people are taking to, if they're using proxies or VPNs or whatever to search the maps. But if you're searching for cameras close to your house, like I said, if word got out that you were utilizing them for that, then it creates data points. I don't know that it would, or what the level of risk is there, but there's definitely a paper trail, so to speak, or a data trail. and data points. How to cover that up? I mean, I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm not sure off the top of my head how to cover that up.
Is this
Especially
where,
for the lay person, you know. Sorry.
no, that's okay. Is this that where you were thinking of or looking for coders to help with this? Oh,
So
okay.
different idea, but I
Okay.
wanted to
That's fine.
integrate the different idea into this. So the different idea that I wanted to integrate into this, I'm still sharing my screen. I'm going to open a new tab. I don't know if y'all are familiar with UShip. UShip is an independent way to ship your goods, valuables, cars, whatever the fuck you want, through independent parties. And what I mean by that is, you're just some guy, and you want someone to pick up some crap you've got here in Grand Junction. You want to take it to you want it taken to Holland, Michigan, right?
Ah, I know where that's at.
I chose it just for you. Okay, so or let's say maybe you're passing through Grand Junction and you're going to Holland, Michigan or whatever, and you want to make some extra money. So you know, you can either ship things. So these are all the things that people want to ship. People want lots of puppies shipped for some weird reason, which I don't understand, but okay, moving on. Chairs and ottomans, beds, chests, you know, going from New Jersey to Michigan. And so if you've got like a truck or a van or like I don't know, a really big Cadillac and you want to make extra money, you can pop on this website. You can become a carrier and pick up people's shipments and deliver them for side cash, or you can ship them and you don't have to use FedEx or UPS. So it's kind of an alternative to shipping items, boxes, cargo.
Kind of like an Uber for shipping, really. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So I wanted to make kind of a see, Silas hates this idea. So I wanted to make kind of a copycat of this, integrate it into this, integrate it into this, and integrate that into our website so that you can go to our website, go to store, and say, hey, RtA, I've got some shit that I want to send. And I want RtA to pick up my shit from point A and drop my shit off at point B and have you know, this somehow on the back end, which is why I would potentially need the coders to integrate it into who I've got where, right? So like if someone needs something from here to here and I've got a hub in Denver and I've got a hub in Grand Junction, that website would email my hub in Denver and say, yo, I got like a pack of pickles that you're about to receive on such and such day. What do you want done with them? And maybe that hub has a garage that they leave open and they're like, yo, throw it in the garage or whatever. So they put it in the garage and then it's like shipped there, right? Like it's integrated. And then it's used, this is kind of the back end that matches up the map. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like everybody hates my ideas, but God damn it, like my ideas have potential.
I like that idea. Can you tell us what the objections were to that?
Say your question again. I'm sorry.
Well, I love it. I think it's a great idea. And maybe, you know, depending on what you're shipping, you don't actually say what it is, but what are objections to that idea? What are we missing?
Mostly it's security. It's people don't like, well, okay, well, two things. Security is one. People really don't like the map. I think. And I think to Deacon's point, there's a paper trail, right? Like it's not anonymous, but what is anymore is my question back to that. Like what is anonymous? Like really, like phone conversations? Nah. So and the other objection to that is we don't have enough people. That's Silas. Silas says, don't start working on the program because we don't have enough drivers. So if we've got people that are like they're shipping already, they're like they've got the pickles, the pickles are ready to go, but we have like 2 drivers. So it's a great idea. We just don't have the people. So how do you get more people? I don't know.
Well, and I mean, people don't necessarily have to be a full dedicated driver. Just if something needs to move around their area, they would be able to pick it up and handle it.
Right.
Just
And
be able to.
that's why I want to start now. Silas says we need to wait until we have more dedicated drivers, but I say why? Why can't we start in individual areas? Like for instance, me, I go from way over here to way over here twice a month. So like that's a pretty big fucking area, and I'm happy to do that area. I just need help. And as you can see, there are like no pins. So I could really use some help in this area to connect y'all over here. And I could really use some extra help over here to connect all of these folks, right? So the objections really are everyone has been talking about wanting to do this, but no one's taking the steps to do it because everyone has a wait, we need drivers. Wait, we need security. Wait, we need, and I only say, no, we really don't. Look at this map. We have people. I mean, aside from this little stretch of hell here, we've got people in almost every single part of the United States. Nearly. If everyone did their own area, again, minus this little butthole crack of the United States, if everyone did their own area, there's no reason why we couldn't start this idea right now without dedicated long-term drivers.
We actually brought this up at our meetup yesterday. So we have a couple of people who were in the healthcare industry who quit or got fired because they wouldn't comply. You know, they're scrambling. There's other people that they feel like they're about to be fired. So we were talking especially about medical care and access to resources, which is kind of the big one because, you know, the medical industry is holding on to all the oxygen and you know, all the tools needed. So I think a lot of people are discussing this and trying to find solutions to that. How do you get the resources? How do you get it to the people? How do you set something up like that?
Well, this happened. Every person on this map, and let's just click on one, right? Let's just see. This is all voluntary too, by the way. I didn't ask anybody to do this. The only thing I did was share a map. That's it. People put their own information on it voluntarily. I didn't ask them to do that. So look, Sean, I've got a Sean in Kansas. Sean didn't identify where exactly he lived. Sean, all he had to do was put in his zip code. So again, even if you wanted to dock Sean, you don't have a last name, you don't have an address, you have a first name, which could be an alias for all I know, and a zip code. So Sean's still relatively anonymous. Now, Deacon's point that, you know, if you know what you're doing, you can track an IP address to ping and triangulate where that person is. Yes. However, to a realistic point, if we start with pickles, who's going to put forth that effort? to triangulate? Like, who has the resources to do that? I'm sure the state has the resources to do that. And I don't discount the state has resources to do that. However,
They're algorithms. It's not a human being that's watching it. They're algorithms watching data points, especially numerous hits
okay,
from the same IPs and things like that. I mean, it's a pattern of data points. And again, yeah, it might be far-fetched. I don't know, but for those people that are adamant about security, that's what I tell people. But my degree is actually in information assurance and forensics. And that's what I tell people. If you absolutely care about your data, like if the security is that paramount, you need to keep it off of any electronic device that can connect to the internet, because it can be
Yes.
retrieved. There is no such thing as totally secure. It's a layered thing. So it's about how much effort is the person willing to put into extracting that data. The problem isn't that you could obfuscate the data to the point where it's a real pain in the butt, but the problem is getting your average user familiar with some of those concepts, and they're able to use those tools to hide their information. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I agree with you too. There's some things that it just doesn't. I mean, in my mind, it's like going outside. When you go outside, you're in public, and you discuss things all the time outside that you don't necessarily want everyone to listen to, but it's the public. It's the same thing. But I also think to a certain extent, unless you raise a flag, you're probably going to escape. But it's convincing those people, I think, that are paranoid about it and that concern. And also too, I think, from my perspective, I'm concerned with the grid going down completely. So I also would I would really be supportive of a low-tech system of doing this as well, maybe to parallel it or something like that, because we may, that's, Mike Swadek's been working on the IPFS stuff, so that if in case the DNS servers are taken down, we can still hopefully locate some of that content and access some of that content. But there's also the possibility that it could just go off completely, which I think is a real possibility. In which case, if we don't have internet access, then none of this is going to be, if that's the way, what it's actually built on, it's not going to work.
What about, can you do like pagers and phones?
Pagers and phones, I don't know. I'd be very interested in figuring out a low-tech way of doing a lot of this stuff as well.
Remember
just to
how we
make sure
used
it
to
can't be
send
taken down.
messages on pagers?
yeah.
You remember like little codes?
80085. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't have the internet, then they don't either, right?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
That's
No?
not true.
Oh,
They
no.
control the
They have it-
infrastructure.
Yeah.
What?
Intranet.
They control the infrastructure, so they can basically turn off the internet for any section of the internet that they wish, just giving themselves access. So absolutely, that's kind of what the internet was designed for. The DARPANET is in case of a nuclear war or nuclear attack, that you can take out sections of it and they still have communication. They can route it any way they wish, and they can filter out any protocol that they wish to boot.
So we have phone, pagers, radios, CD. I mean, you're still kind of, but like she mentioned too, and we've talked about too, like codes, using a book for coding. Or
Yeah, book ciphers and
whatever.
things like that
Yeah.
are good ideas. Yeah.
We've been working on book ciphers for the past year. Well, I've been working on book ciphers for the past year and a half also. And what I'm coming up with is so frustrating. You get this book and you start getting your code mapped out for your book, right? And then you go to your library to check your work. It's a different edition. So the pages don't line up. So the words don't really line up. And so the code doesn't line up when the words don't line up and the page numbers don't line up because the edition doesn't line up. And then it hits you that there's so many fucking editions and reprints that nowadays a book cipher really fucking hard, because you don't know what edition the person's going to have access to. You don't know if the person's going to have the same edition or the same publisher, because there's different publishers with different editions now, you know, like some have gone under and sold the rights to a different publisher, and they added an extra long forward and that fucked everything up. So I've been looking at alternative methods to go offline for some of this. And my magazine is about the only thing that I can think of that's consistent, because I put it out. But again, we got to get readership up. We got to get it to the point where people are buying printed copies, because if it's still online and the infrastructure goes down, really, we're just wasting our time. So, sorry, go ahead.
I wonder too, Joanna and I, we've talked about these market stands. It seems like maybe that sort of thing could be utilized too. So
Totally.
as we get our little, you know, market stands set up along our, you know, dotted along our community, and these would be like in rural areas, kind of just surrounding the city. But if they're up and they're regular, and you know, I've had ideas too where people in that area, it's an exchange. It doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary exchange, but let's say, you know, let's say they have tons of watermelons and I got cantaloupes, and they can just come exchange some watermelons for cantaloupes, you know, or something like that. So like it just could be a product trade too. But maybe something on the regular somehow with those might be useful or helpful. And, you know, our idealistic vision is that they just continue on and on and on. And every, I don't know, what, 30, 40 miles or so, you have something like this, maybe longer. I don't know.
In Oklahoma, Sandy, you guys know Sandy, had at one time and probably still does have a map of, excuse me for being political, all the Ron Paulers in Oklahoma. Of course, some of them we know have fallen off, but I think we can figure out who hasn't. And I'm just looking at, like, is it 412 that runs from Tulsa to Boise City? And we know people all along the way, and we could maybe, you know, pull out those resources again and see who we still trust and who can help. These people are not aware of your magazine, or Freedom Cells for that matter. They're absolute friendlies, but they're just not connected. So we need to tell them about it, for one.
Let's connect them. How exciting. Let's plug them in. I'm excited for that. I think that roadside thing is great in Boulder, Colorado, as well as Fruita, Colorado. The roadside fruit stands are all the rage. If you don't have a fruit stand, you are 100% square. It is like peach pie mecca. You can't like fall down in Fruita, Colorado without like hitting some part of your body in a peach pie from a fruit stand. And Boulder, it's the same thing, except for cherries and grapes and everything else. So the fruit stands are great. However, I would love for them to continue also, but you go to one town over, you go to Fruit at a Clifton. Clifton's a shithole. Nobody buys fruit in Clifton. Like no one has a fruit stand in Clifton. So I think the fruit stands are a great idea, but just the way I think the communities are set up, I don't know how realistic it is, but I love connecting smaller cells that may not be connected into a bigger network. And whether it's for this idea or for a different idea, but they were connected through this network, even better, you know, like Silas will probably kick me, but I'm more interested in the community development than I am in getting magazine readers. Like I would rather help connect people and support a community and support a network than business, because the greater goal here is to become autonomous, and we're running out of time. And so if we can connect these beautiful people down the road that have their own little list and connect them to a bigger network, maybe they'll have ideas on how they can connect to other maybe little town groups that have kind of the similar mindset.
Yeah, and the idea with those stands, I was thinking, was if you've got kind of the regular, I mean, those could be drop locations or exchange locations or things like that with the people with, you know, that you trust within that community. So to everybody else, it just looks like your farm stand, but in, you know, the background, there's other things going on there.
I love that. That's my whole life. I mean, I would send benign things through the mail system when I would send things overseas. And I would send just like socks or diapers or humanitarian things more than anything else. And I'd been arrested by Homeland Security a couple of times and through the FBI also. And they would always tell me that they intercepted a package through the postal network. And I knew immediately, like, it's diapers, like, big deal, so I still used very exposed methods to send things. But to Lisa's point, it was mostly a diversion. It was mostly like, pay attention to this. I'm using the system. And for the most part, the state's pretty simple when it comes to things, that they really just look at the most obvious answer, and that's what they run with more times than not. And so that was kind of my misdirection. That was kind of my everything's fine here. And so I think where some anarchists or some free thinkers or some people kind of diverge from my line of thought is they want everything to be completely secure. And I think you're nuts if you think you're going to be completely secure no matter what. You can't walk down the street and not get recorded by a camera. And even if it's a private building camera, guess what? The state has access to it and they can take footage of it at any time without a subpoena. And I think that's notable when people are screaming security, security, security. And I think the only thing that wraps my head around it is there is none. So we have to be extra fucking smart. And even though I'm not asking anybody to break the law, I'm legit talking about running pickles. Because do you know how expensive it is to ship vanilla and pickles across country? It's ridiculously expensive to ship food products through any system. It's crazy expensive. I want yak meat from Oregon and Washington, and I can't because no one can afford to ship it to me and it stay fresh. So I am not asking people to break the law. I'm not asking people to like send drugs or send like illegal immigrants or children. Like, I'm not asking anything for that. I'm not asking for anything illegal, but I am asking for a little bit of exposure because that's what I know. And I know that if you think you are completely secure in anything you're doing, I've got news for you. You're not ever. And I think the more we accept that and the more we tighten up our security in other ways, then we can just move forward instead of be frozen in fear.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe the online platform could primarily be used to just put people in contact with each other. Like, someone has a need to ship something, someone wants to receive something, they communicate outside of this system. That
love
way,
that.
If they want to ship drugs, I mean, who knows? Whatever, we don't know what they're shipping. Or
classified,
or even kind of like the classifieds we set up for the Tulsa Agora, where the actual exchange of the transaction happens outside of that system. And so, at least, even if they still continue to communicate digitally through their email or whatever, it's not attached to the system that you have set up. So that kind of takes the pressure off it as far as maybe getting taken down or something. If everything you're doing is legit and, you're just putting people in contact with each other. That's all.
So my question to you then, Deacon, is that's exactly what I want to happen. However, after this map happened, what started happening is I became the operator in the matrix. So Sean in Kansas was calling me and saying, "Hey, I got a brother down here in Oklahoma and he needs a place to stay. Can you find me someone in Oklahoma that is safe for him to stay?" And so then I'm like vetting the brother, right, to make sure that I'm not sending a psychopath to a friend's house. So I'm like vetting the brother, and then I'm reaching out to people that I know, and I'm like, "Hey, what do you feel like? Full disclosure, this is what's going on. Do you feel comfortable letting this person stay with you?" And sometimes it's yes, and sometimes it's no. So that was happening for the past year and a half. That puts me at a huge risk. I mean, all of this does, but especially because it's not decentralized if everyone's calling me. So, and everyone's calling me because, again, this is all voluntary, right? So I didn't ask for contact information. I didn't ask for anything. However, because I know a lot of these people and these people have written to me before putting themselves on the map, I know who these people are just by their first name and their location. So how do you get people to connect with each other without doxing themselves, without giving too much away, but without calling the operator from the matrix?
I think the market, the online markets like the Tulsa Agora, which is more local, but agorist market type thing. It's just a Craigslist. So if someone, same thing, if you're looking for a room to rent, or if you have a room to rent, you can just post it on there and let whoever answer wishes to answer. The problem, the trick there is getting the word out about those markets so that people know to connect and actually getting people to post on there. That's kind of also been the trick. I like the Tulsa Agora, I have a page set up for my IT services, for example. But that's kind of been the trick, is getting people to actually post ads on there or make themselves known or whatever. And you can do it anonymously because, again, it works like a Craigslist. So they can contact you via the site and it anonymizes your email and sends the message that way. And then the transaction can be conducted outside of that system. You could do the same thing with rooms to rent or selling goods or anything.
And there's a way to comment, so it kind of builds a reputation for those people who are listed.
Yeah, if you have kind of a store, an online store.
Yeah.
So instead of having like my idea integrated from the magazine website to the map to the U-ship, could the magazine somehow have a platform for a Craigslist to start utilizing this map? Because the great thing is Tulsa Agora is local, but this one would be nationwide, right? So like, is there a way to connect all of the other Tulsa Agoras and the Freedom Cell Network, whatever, into
did it, so it can be done.
Yeah,
you can do exactly like that, really. Just put all the different states, regions, whatever. And then so people can go, look according to their geographic location. Do a search.
Yeah. And a lot of the work has already been done because there are a lot of open source projects out there that do that kind of thing for free.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just,
Yep.
It's open source, just like that Craigslist format. You have to register though to see anything.
But you can set it up however you like. You can require registration,
But ours is.
or not, or yeah, they're a million ways you can configure it.
And then what? You let the parties decide how they want to communicate, I guess, how they want to communicate and how they want to set things up.
And then maybe when Silas gets into the position where he's comfortable, where he has the amount of drivers that he wants, then maybe he can integrate into a buy it from Lisa and Deacon and we'll deliver it to Joe, or we can expand it that way, right? Like we could somehow set it up to integrate a shipping service on top of this existing like Craigslist idea, right?
Yep, sure could.
Yeah, and there has been talk, about this, like, and I was in a Telegram channel where, people were talking about setting up some sort of delivery system. They were trying, a lot of the talk was trying to figure out how would you do that? Like, how would the communication happen? Like cell 411 was brought up, but well, that's kind of dead in the water right now. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I know there are people out there looking to do this, and I guess, if you kind of get the framework set up and get it out there, I think it will take off.
So my website right now is hosted by Constant Contact. I get the most bang out of my buck with that already ready to go, but I'm not opposed to leaving Constant Contact. It's just nice because I have that email feature when I'm sending out the magazines and whatnot. And I have some flexibility, but as you know, with these pre-built websites, you're limited, to a degree in how much you can do. So am I able to still do this idea with a Constant Contact type host, or do I need to start shopping for a different website or a different thing?
I'm not familiar with Constant Contact or what that is, so I'm not sure what its capabilities are off the top of my head. It would be probably better to have your own web host of some kind. You have a lot more control.
Okay.
Used HostGator or HostMonster, one of the two. But there's also an Agorist option. We didn't use them because it's too expensive and we're paying for it all out of pocket right now. But we have a really inexpensive plan that we host the Tulsa Gore on. I don't know, it's like $15 a month, but we can host unlimited websites on there as well. Of course, performance kind of becomes a factor after so many, but yeah, it's really easy to manage that way. Yeah.
What is it? Romero?
A lot of functionality too.
Romero.
Well, I don't know
Is that who you're talking about?
What have we done with?
The voluntary business. For
Oh,
hosting.
no, it's just called Agorist hosting or something like that.
Oh,
It's really
okay.
pretty generic name.
Honestly, I contacted them like 11 times and
Wow.
they never once emailed me back.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I
couldn't
know,
afford them.
yeah, Silas was like, oh, Agorist hosting. And I was like, yeah, they don't return my calls.
Oh, there you go. Business must be good.
Yeah, we were hosting it ourselves, but that wasn't optimal. It wasn't. We weren't set up well for that. So
I don't know, like I can show you Constant. I don't know. I'm not a tech person, right? Like that's not my thing.
well, I bet if we think about it a little bit, I bet we could at least come up with some more ideas to discuss.
I welcome any and all ideas because this was really helpful to me. So like I know that Silas is all like he hated the U-ship idea also of kind of integrating that into the website. He hated that too because he said that that already exists and we're reinventing the wheel and there's no point in us doing it because it already exists. And Okay, fine. But does it? Like, is there really the kind of freedom that I'm offering really already existing right now? Because I feel like no. I feel like there's a constrictive version out there, perhaps. So, but I like the Craigslist idea nationwide, kind of the Tulsa Agora, because I know that Craigslist already exists, but I also know that the other shopping networks do quite well with membership and traffic. People are looking for alternative methods. And quite frankly, there's a lot of stuff that people want to sell and they can't because the state says no. So, and not just illegal stuff, but just stuff. So, I like this idea a lot. Like you guys have kind of helped me at least kind of fix my focus a little bit because I was all over the place. I'm just kind of showing you the website because I'm not techie and maybe it might help you like get a better understanding as to what I have available. Maybe it's limited, which is a bummer. But so I have as many pages as I want. And you can add quite a bit of like stuff or like I don't even know how though. Super not tech savvy. Uh that's not it. I don't know, y'all, like website stuff, like techie words. Like, do you know I operate an online magazine and I can barely operate my phone to make a phone call?
I wouldn't know where to begin making an online magazine.
Oh my God. It's way easier than this right now. Oh, maybe it's okay. So I can add a section and then I have like these things to choose from, like a call to action or contact form. But it's limited, right? Like I have these like pre-designed things like reviews.
Yeah, you're limited to what somebody put in the canned options.
Totally. So, like, do I need to come up with a different website to integrate into this? Do I need to come up with a different website altogether? Which would be a bummer because I'm not very tech savvy and you guys are asking a lot out of me right now. And this is all self-funded. So,
And there may be other like plugins or features you can add. It seems odd that an online magazine would not have a like a classified section.
okay, so this is just the
No.
website. So the magazine is
Okay.
through FlipSnack.
Okay.
So FlipSnack, yeah, you like that? FlipSnack. They piss me off, but I think all website things piss me off because I'm like a closeted Ann Prim and I want to hit everything with a rock.
Oh.
Oh,
So FlipSnack, this is the magazine. This is October's issue. Y'all are getting a sneak peek. So I can create pages from scratch and do whatever I want with text, links. I can upload photos or use stock photos, upload videos. I can interact for, a degree by inputting like social networking. Embeds, animation, pretty much endless. I can put links, whatever I want in here.
okay.
When I go to publish, I have a little bit of also extra freedom as to what I can publish. Like I can charge for certain pages. I can keep other pages free. I can have people register for certain pages. So I have some functionality control over the magazine itself as well as the individual pages, which is different than the website. So I have a lot of online websites that integrate into the magazine. I've got podcasting websites, the magazine. Constant Contact is also not only the website, but also email blast or boosters or email campaigns, which I have individual functionality on that also. So I have a lot of different websites with a lot of different capabilities on each that I kind of use because I haven't found one that does everything that I want. So I can add another one to my list.
I think I just need to see, I mean, I think for myself anyway, I would need to sit down probably with you and, well, get like a draft or what your vision is, and really get into some of the nuts and bolts and how these things all play with each other to create what you want to do. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to say, yeah, you need to buy something, or no, you have everything you need. You just need a really complete picture. I mean, I see all the pieces, but I don't really know how they play together.
I don't really know how they play together either, other than me doing it all. So
right, and that's where, I mean, I'm a visual guy myself, so I mean, it's helpful for me to actually see how you kind of put it together for me to see how it works, because
totally.
I read documentation all the time, and I will build it up in my head and make it so much more complicated than it actually is 9 times out of 10. But when I see it, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah, totally. I would love to sit down with you and show you anything you want to see with the magazine, how it all plays together. Mostly it doesn't play together. Mostly it's me telling it to play nice.
Right
So
on.
like to integrate the magazine into the website so that you're able to go to the website. When I update it, I just tell this, I say magazine or website, I want you to take it to a new link. So it's me telling it to play nice. It doesn't do it automatically or anything. It's just me updating the information from the website. So I don't know if they really work together necessarily, other than me uploading new information every month.
It's linking to, yeah, okay.
So and then updating this every month. I
So would you
update
want
that
the
manually.
classifieds to link from your website? Is that what you?
I feel like
wanting?
it would make sense to the website because I feel like the website is 90% of the traffic to, even though there are subscribers that get it emailed to them, it seems like 9 times out of 10, they don't want to scroll through their email to find the link. So they just go to the website and they find the magazine, even though I email it to them. So it seems like good majority of the traffic is going to the website first. So it makes sense that the supply chain would also go to the website first.
Well, the supply chain wouldn't necessarily, or your classifieds or whatever, wouldn't necessarily have to exist there. You could just link to it. I mean, it can
Oh
be a
yeah.
totally thing. If this is working for you, then don't if it ain't broke.
I would dig that. I that would probably be better for me just because like I know this system, my limited knowledge of tech. I don't know if I've got the energy to learn new tech necessarily, but I could totally link something to the website for sure.
I don't know if Joe has any ideas, but I mean, he sounds like he deals with things on a larger scale.
Well,
From a project's standpoint.
yeah, but at the same time, I used to work in a kind of a waterfall software development environment where you define this big project and then you work and you deliver the whole thing. But now everything's agile, so break it all down into little tiny chunks. And one of the biggest things when you're doing something like this is figuring out what are the absolutely essential pieces that have to be there to have basic function, right? The bare bones, so we can come up with what we would call a minimum viable product, an MVP, right? Something, because we want to get it out and get it working as quickly as possible so that we can get that feedback from people and figure out where the weak spots are, where the bugs are. But along the way, we're also kind of putting together, what are the other nice to haves, in what order do we want to add them in. But you break it down into bite-sized chunks, make it easy. And when you approach a developer and say, I want to make this whole big giant website, they flip out. They're like, that's going to take thousands of hours. I'm like, I can't do that. But when you say, oh, I just want to make this little piece of this page have this kind of function, or maybe just make it look this way, they say, oh, sure, I can do that. Boom, you bang it out. But you always want to try to take the roast out of the oven, you know what I mean? And start having something that's functional, something that you can show, and then you can build on.
I like to mind map. It helps me.
Yes,
Mind mapping is
organize
very
things.
useful.
yes.
Yeah.
And,
so,
okay.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, mind mapping actually translates really well to a technique that we call user story mapping, which is where you make these little snippets of from the point of view of somebody who's using your product. As a user, I want this to happen when I do this.
That's good.
And you actually map them out. You put them in their order and their swim lanes. But it's the overall technique of mapping all of those things out is very similar to a mind map setup.
Right on. That's good stuff.
That helps me connect everything and then see how it's going to integrate and what all the elements are and whatever.
Well, I have trouble with all of that. Oh, I like have ADD to the max. Okay. Like I'm working on like 780,000 different ideas, both with the magazine, locally, globally.
Squirrel.
Yeah. And so like to focus on any one idea is really hard for me. So I have trouble with focusing anything, which is why Silas and I fight all the time, because he's very methodical and I'm very like, nah. I'll need a lot of support with this, but I know I have a vision and I know that I have the capability to make the vision happen. I just need kind of a clear direction as to which way I'm running.
So it would be helpful to me if I can maybe make sure I understand what the needs are. So we want a way to create supply chains. We need a way to communicate needs and to schedule deliveries and pickups or drops. In plain sight, but but we don't want to we don't want to raise suspicion or become a target in some way. And then it's like, what all are we talking about? We just like, whatever, it's, people need to get someplace. We got supplies that need to get someplace. I don't know. They could be those supplies that maybe maybe not so much black market, but more gray market or whatever, like, could raise suspicion if caught with them. So is that right? Am I kind of on the right track there with you?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's
okay.
Well, so some of that is like a big picture goal. Some of those are like scaled up, like the delivery. I think Silas really wants to take that over, and I think Silas wants to take that on, but he's not quite ready yet. So I think that would be something that we would scale up to. I think in the meantime, I really like the Craigslist idea of I've got pickles. I need someone to help me deliver said pickles or yak meat or whatever the hell to one destination to another, and having like a Craigslist type format would be really helpful. And maybe if we could integrate it into the existing map, have the people that have already self-identified with with a zip code and a name, also be able to use the map to list things. You know, I don't know, like black is business, right? So like this person registered their business, Total Balance Natural Medicine, businesses are in black. So it would be really rad if we could use an existing website that already has companies, businesses, but then also maybe open it up if, you know, Ziggy has really extraordinary peaches to sell, he could use this function to sell peaches or something. I don't know. It's still in here.
Maybe too, if we could spread the word and get people, I mean, like I would be on board with kind of putting myself out there as a hub, or I don't know what a good word is for it, but maybe a point of contact for you know, if you need to ship something here, I can receive it for somebody. I may not necessarily always be able to go and pick it up necessarily, but if somebody needs a drop off point, you know, and if he could utilize the map, that's actually pretty cool. He could use the map to just maybe find, or even other kind of Craigslist sites within the Agora to connect to, so that you can find them in whatever area you need to, or if you need to get in the ballpark of an area. That way you could find the site, and then it'd be really great if we could find other people that would volunteer to be kind of a receiving point as well, that could post within those forums, in those Craigslists. That way they could be a point of contact. You know, you can go to that Craigslist or whatever and find that person and connect with them if you need to ship or even an outgoing. You know,
So you kind of have
well.
like a delivery service, sort of a warehouse distributor kind of
Right.
thing, right?
Right.
So,
and we don't necessarily even have to discuss, I mean, within the forum itself, the online forum, we don't even have to discuss the details of what it is. Just, hey, I need somebody. Hey, I'm somebody. Okay, we can talk offline.
but so using the classifieds integrated with this map is what you would like to do.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the more we talk about it, the more I think this map has purpose. If nothing else, then a way to be able to be able to connect with them directly, and not me. Don't call me. Like, I mean, like, it's fine. Like, I don't mind people calling me, and we've actually been able to help a lot of people through this map, because, you know, like, if Silas is breaking down places, then, you know, I know people like friendlies that I can get him in contact with. That'll either, we've done this before. He broke down in the northeast of the United States, and I contacted our friend Papa Nicholas, and he came out with a jack and helped him with his van. So I mean, we've been able to be useful with this map before, but I want this map to grow legs and run on its own. And I think if we're able to integrate the map with, because, you know, the map drops into an Excel spreadsheet, right? Like, that's just how Google Maps works. So there is a Google spreadsheet behind this that has all, what is it, 1,800 people that have self-identified on this map, and it drops them with, like I said, their name and their postal code. I could invite the same people the way we got them the first time and ask them to drop in an email or something. And that would go to the Excel spreadsheet. But then how you make that Excel spreadsheet into like some sort of classifieds, that's where you lost me. I don't know.
You can definitely put the link in there, but no, I think that's a great idea. And I definitely agree that While I think the offline stuff is really important, I think this is a great way to spread. Obviously, online is the fastest way to spread communication and make connections. And then you have all that data you can export. So if things do go bad, if things do go south, the grid goes down. I have a list of names and people and their locations, and we can, I mean, if I have to drive to them physically to talk to them, I know how to find them.
Yes.
At least maybe certain points of contact that feel comfortable sharing their information with those other individual points of contact, so that we have a connection between these cities. And
So a year and a half ago, when I came up with this idea, I asked people to be station masters or conductors. I didn't call it that at the time, but I've got probably 21 people on here that have said, yes, I will be a hub, or I will be a station master, or I will be a conductor. And here's my home address. And they gave me very personal information because they said, you know, like, I'm good for 2 nights. I'm good for a warm meal. I'm good for auto repair. I'm good for childcare and emergency. These people came forward with amazing ideas for, like, if you're ever stranded in Las Vegas and you're dehydrated as fuck, I know a guy that will hydrate you and feed you for 2 days. For 2 days. Like, come on. Like, you know, like, I have amazing information, but it's all in here. I don't want it to be in here anymore. I want it to be accessible to everybody. And I don't know how to do that.
Okay, my laptop's about to die, but do you want to make a Telegram channel with this, or do you just want to set up more meetings to talk it? Like, I have some things to think about. I'm sure you do, but I guess we could just share them privately with you too.
I
And
don't even care. I would love another meeting in maybe a month or something, and maybe like shoot off a couple ideas, maybe get together one-on-one on a few things on website design, just to show you how certain things work. But maybe another group meeting in like a month. And because I know I have tons to think about, but I know life is hectic too. And so I know that, you know, like, I'm somewhere down here on the list, which is fine, but maybe a month gives us all enough time to, like, live and think at the same time.
yeah, well, I think there's some people we could definitely talk to in our area. One of the things I have is to fill in that space between Oklahoma and Colorado. And I think Joanna might know a couple of people who could help with that, especially if we have like a little more information to go on to give them. And then of course, Midfest is coming up, and there's going to be lots and lots of talks and discussions and networking. So I think this is going to be a pretty big one. Like last year we had dozens. I think this year we're going to have, you know, 200 or 300 people. So, which is kind of cool to grow that much in 1 year.
I welcome you to share this idea with trusted people at Midfest. And
oh yeah, I wouldn't just share it with anybody. But
no,
yeah, we'll be.
No, I trust
we'll be
you, but I
meeting
mean,
up
it
with
would be
people.
interesting.
But
Sorry.
even just talking about it in general terms with some people, like, I would just kind of gauge feedback. Like somebody's like, oh, I've been thinking about that myself. And we've, you know, even to get ideas that they may have that could be shared too. So kind of an info gather thing too. And there are some trusted people down there that we could, you know, talk to about it.
That would be perfect. I'm open to hearing lots of everything, perspectives, ideas, hopes, dreams, frustrations. I want to hear about it all, because I mean, if I'm exposed to a lot of information, I'm able to problem solve and find ways to bridge the gap, and find people that know stuff that can help me even farther. So, thank you guys for spending some time with me and helping me get some ideas out of my head.
Sure
Thank
thing.
you. It's great
Anything
ideas.
comes up, let me know, and vice versa.
Totally will. You guys have been great. Joanna, it was a real pleasure to meet you. I hope
You
to
too.
connect with you again some more. And
Sure.
all of you, thank you.
Okay,
you.
it's good to meet you, Joe.
Okay,
Oh
meet
yeah,
you.
good to meet all of you virtually. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, tell Silas hi. You guys have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks. You guys too, folks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Stop.